What happened to a young man from Pickerington, Ohio, sounds like a plot pulled straight from a Hollywood thriller, but every single word of this is true. A guy walks into a crowded room with a single exit surrounded by security cameras and simply vanishes off the face of the earth. The year is 2006. Pickerington is a quiet, tight-knit suburb of Columbus, Ohio. It's the kind of town where kids grow up playing in safe neighborhoods, go to the local high school, and dream of doing big things. Brian Shaffe was one of those kids. Born and raised right here in Pickerington, Brian was a smart, charismatic guy. By 27, he was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. He had a degree in microbiology. He had a beautiful girlfriend. He had a bright, promising future ahead of him. Like anyone else wrapping up grueling medical exams, Brian was ready to celebrate the start of spring break. On the night of March 31, 2006, he headed out for some drinks. It was a normal Friday night. Nothing felt out of the ordinary. The plan was simple: grab some friends, hit a few spots, and blow off some steam. Eventually, Brian and his friends ended up at a place called the Ugly Tuna Saloon. This bar was located on the second floor of a newly developed complex in Columbus, just a short drive from where Brian grew up. Because the complex was new and security was tight, there were cameras everywhere. You couldn't sneeze in this place without a lens catching it. And this is where reality starts to break down. Here's what we know for absolute verifiable fact. At 1:15 a.m., security footage clearly captures Brian Shaffe riding the escalator up to the Ugly Tuna Saloon. He's with his friends, they're laughing. At 1:55 a.m., just before the bar closes, the camera outside the second floor entrance picks him up again. Brian is standing outside the doors talking to two young women. He says goodbye, turns around, and walks back through the doors into the bar. And that is the last time the world ever sees Brian Shaffe. At 2:00 a.m., the lights come up. The bar closes. Brian's friends are waiting outside the only public exit for him to come out. They wait and they wait. They call his cell phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. Assuming he must have just slipped out without them seeing and gone home, his friends finally leave. But Brian isn't at his apartment. His car is parked in its usual spot. His bed is perfectly made. Monday rolls around and Brian misses a flight to Miami that he and his girlfriend had booked months in advance. Panic sets in. The Columbus Police Department gets involved. They immediately go to the tape. This should be an open and shut case, right? Just look at the security footage to see when Brian walked out, who he was with, and which direction he went. Detectives review the footage from the Ugly Tuna. They watch everyone entering the bar. They watch everyone exiting the bar. They account for every single patron, everyone. Except Brian. The camera never catches him walking out. He didn't go down the escalator. He didn't use the emergency exit. There was a service door that led to a construction site, but police scoured that area with cadaver dogs and it was completely untouched. There was no back alley he could have slipped into unnoticed. The Ugly Tuna Saloon was effectively a locked room. He walked in and he never walked out. How does a 6'2", 27-year-old man vanish into thin air inside a building filled with people and cameras? Did he slip into a temporary freight elevator? Did he disguise himself by swapping clothes with someone? Was he the victim of a random, terrible crime? Every theory falls apart when you look at the evidence. The cameras on the surrounding streets and nearby bars never caught a glimpse of him either. It was as if he stepped through a tear in reality. The disappearance of Brian Shaffe shook Pickerington and the entire central Ohio region to its core. This wasn't just a news story. This was a local boy, a Pickerington High School graduate, someone people knew and loved. Missing posters were stapled to every telephone pole from the University District to his hometown. Search parties combed the banks of the Olentangy River, dug through dumpsters, and knocked on hundreds of doors. His father, Randy, tirelessly searched the city every single day. Months went by with no answers. Then something even stranger happened. 6 months after Brian vanished, his girlfriend was doing what she did every single night, calling his cell phone just to hear the voicemail. It was a comforting ritual, but on a Friday night in September, the phone didn't go straight to voicemail. It rang once, twice, 3 times. The cell provider traced the ping to a cell tower in a neighboring town, but ultimately they chalked it up to a bizarre glitch in the cellular network. Still, for the family, it was agonizing. Years turned into a decade. A decade turned into nearly 20 years. The building that housed the Ugly Tuna has since been remodeled. The landscape of the city has changed, but the mystery remains completely frozen in time. To this day, the police have zero physical evidence of what happened to Brian Shaffe after he walked back into that bar. No body, no clothing, no digital footprint, nothing. It's the kind of story that keeps you awake at night, isn't it? The idea that life can be so perfectly normal one second and completely incomprehensible the next. Pickerington, Ohio is a place built on deep roots. It's a community where families stay for generations, where people look out for one another. That's what made Brian's disappearance so shocking. It completely shattered the illusion of suburban predictability. When we talk about real estate, we often talk about safe bets. We look at school districts, property values, and crime rates. Pickerington is, by all traditional metrics, a fantastic place to plant your flag. It's beautiful, the community is incredibly tight-knit, and it's a wonderful place to call home. But every town, no matter how idyllic, has its shadows. It has the stories that get passed around in hushed tones. Knowing the history of a place, the good, the bad, and the completely unbelievable is part of truly knowing where you live. You aren't just buying a plot of land or a house with 4 bedrooms and a nice kitchen. You're buying into the fabric of a community and all the history that comes with it. If you're thinking of moving here or just want to see what's currently on the market, get the real data. Head over to Estep.com to see the latest home listings across all the cities I cover, and grab my free city guide exactly what it's like to live here. That's Estep.com. See you there.